Hi and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to start breaking down some of the hot topics. Today we're going to be dealing with alien abductions. So just to go through the process really quickly, yeah, and then I'll elaborate on a couple of things. So normally the first part of the process is capture. Okay, let me run through these and then I'll break them down a bit. So the first one is capture. The second one is after being taken to a UFO, they go through the examination process. After the examination process, there's normally a conference that happens between the aliens and their human captives. Normally also there's a loss of time, because often people will wake up out of sleep, because very few abductions have actually happened during the day, although there have been some, but most of these happen at night. And so normally when people are sleeping, they're awakened out of their sleep or become conscious out of their sleep, and this is where they begin to notice things like time and stuff like that, and their surroundings, and intruders that just come into their house. And then obviously you've got the last one, which is the aftermath. Okay, so let me start with the aftermath. So when you read the lives of these people, and you listen to the people that have been counselling them, as in the case of John E. Mack, where he spent a lot of time with these people, and he saw firsthand how this traumatic experience had affected their lives. I mean, some very functional people were no longer functional on a day-to-day basis because of the trauma. Okay, and I'm just saying that this, for me, is not fate. So I certainly believe that people are experiencing traumatic things, and they are seeing and experiencing what they're recounting. Okay, now there is a biblical basis for what they're experiencing, and we'll kind of get to that. And again, this is why I hold to the fact that I believe people are really experiencing this, right? So just going back to the abduction process, so capture. So as I've kind of already said, so normally what happens is somebody's sleeping in their bed, just as a general, they're sleeping in their bed, they become conscious, they or awaken out of sleep or asleep, or just become conscious from their sleep, and then they normally see aliens, normally the greys, and we'll get into a little bit around the alien races in a mo. Normally greys are heavily associated with alien abductions, and so they'll see greys. And greys, if you don't know, are very short, 3, 4. I think the most the tallest I've ever heard anybody describe a grey as is nearly 5 feet. So between 3 and 5 feet tall, the kind of big heads, big black eyes, no visible nose or mouth and stuff like that, or a very small mouth. And then these aliens come into people's properties. So when they see these entities, when they see these greys, they become paralyzed. And so they're conscious, but paralyzed and unable to move. I mean, I've heard some horrendous things, like parents talking about being paralyzed and being captured by the aliens, and then watching their children become paralyzed and being taken by these aliens to the same ship that's a UFO that's awaiting them, and watch their children go through these medical experiments as well, right? So some of this is like really horrendous, without a shadow of a doubt. And so they become paralyzed, they're unable to move, unable to call for help and stuff like that, and then they are taken to a waiting UFO. Some people describe being floated through doors, ceilings, and board the UFOs. Upon boarding the UFOs, they then go through these medical procedures, very intrusive, as we've already said, sperm retrieval. Women have had eggs taken away from them, vaginal examinations, anal examinations. People have spoken about the utensils feeling alive, that when something is inserted into them, they can feel them moving around them. And again, the only way that they describe that it is like the apparatus is like it's alive on the inside of them, right? And so they go through these really embarrassing, traumatic medical procedures with things being removed from their bodies in some situations and in most situations. And what becomes really apparent as you read through these is there always seems to be a massive fascination with genitalia, the reproductive system. There was a few accounts where I read that there was a number of captives on board UFOs, and because of the whole helplessness that people felt, and literally in some cases felt like they were being mind controlled in order to do things, have had sexual intercourse with other people on the UFO that the aliens were directing, because there seems to be this real, what's the right word? The right word from the abductees' perspective is that they are very lustful, interested and intrigued by sexuality, and this is the abductees talking, get off on seeing humans do this, right? So there's always this sexual element, which again is has a real biblical basis in order to explain it, okay? And I will get to the biblical side in a little while. Then you go into this thing called what's been deemed as conferences, okay? So the conference aspect of the phenomenon is that after the human beings have been abducted and they've been subjected to these processes, they then have a one-on-one or a one-on-two with the aliens. And what's really interesting, because this hasn't just come from one or two people that have been abducted. Remember, there's a whole process, like as I've already outlined, that happens in like 99% of the cases. And then the other side is you've got something called contactees, which means that aliens contact them, but they haven't been abducted and they haven't gone through, most contactees haven't gone through the medical procedures, right? So this one-on-one conference that they have with the alien or aliens is an attempt of the aliens to indoctrinate the people that they've abducted. And what I mean by saying indoctrinate them is obviously the humans that they abduct have got lots of questions, and the aliens are very matter of fact. First and foremost, they offer no reason, no explanation as to why they feel that they have a right to abduct people from their houses and subject them to things that they do not want to be subjected to, and have given no consent. And the aliens absolutely are completely dismissive of this, and kind of, again, from the description of the people that have been abducted, are very dismissive of it and very matter of fact about it. And we will do this because we can, and nobody can tell us that we can't, right? That's, in a nutshell, is kind of the attitude displayed by the aliens. And then, so this indoctrination aspect is that after there's sometimes a bit of conversation, often human beings inquiring where they've come from, to which they offer little to no explanation. I think the most popular one in recent years has been that the aliens are here because their worlds went through an ecological disaster, and they've travelled many light years to Earth. In actual fact, time travelled and come back from a future, and they're trying to help us not make the same mistakes. I mean, what that means is anybody's guess, because at no point have they offered any solutions about this impending ecological disaster that they feel that we're going to go through. And so this indoctrination part is 99.9% a spiritual exegesis towards us as human beings around what we should believe. And basically what the aliens say, and again, you can look, don't take my word for it, go and study it, go and read up on it. There is a very spiritual element, to alien abductions, which we never hear about. The news media don't report this. They don't go into this type of detail, and it's only until you really start studying it and looking at it for yourself can you start to unpack what's actually happened to these people. And there's always this conference that is trying to indoctrinate the people they abduct with spiritual truth. And in a nutshell, basically what they say is that all of the religions that we have or that are known on the earth are in their infancy, and that the prophets, like all of the prophets of all of the major religions, were actually sent by the aliens to direct us to worshipping the aliens, because the aliens are telling the abductees that the aliens are the bridge between humanity and the creator, the great power, the all-knowing, all-seeing power who created the universe. And they're very vague about this creator and the power, but very clear about that our religions are not complete. They're in their infancy, and that the aliens sent the prophets to us. And the interesting thing to me as a Christian is that a lot of these abductees that are not Christian, and a lot of them don't have a spiritual basis or interest to a degree, are told that they shouldn't be Christians, and that the aliens themselves are very negative towards Christianity. Now that's a really interesting fact to me, and says a lot about the aliens. And then what I'm going to do in the next session is I'm going to talk about the alien races, and then I'm going to talk about the biblical stance around who they are. So I've been talking about my biblical stance, but I haven't gone into any details yet. But I'm going to cover that off in the next session. So I will see you on the next session. God bless.